welcome everybody. It's the first episode of the Weekly Joe podcast in podcast form. We're used to being on Spaces. We've been doing those for about 3 years, discussing all things Alabama baseball. And so here we go. We've got our graphics for us. Episode 1. We're just in process. We promise we'll have more to come later. I'm Paul Graham, one of your roundtable hosts here. We'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. Griffen, we'll start with you.
Sure. My name is Griffen Smith. I live in Dallas, Texas. Avid baseball fan. I got to see Roger and some of the parents in Dallas earlier this season, but I stay connected as much as possible with, my lack of being in Tuscaloosa, but love to be a part of it. Thanks for having me.
All right. Dr. Meghan Dennis, we'll go to you. Got to unmute. There you go.
Yeah. I'm Meghan Dennis. Been doing this for 12 seasons now.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. She's Roger Myers, the godfather of Alabama baseball. Introduce yourself, Roger.
Yeah, I'm Roger Myers. I'm here in Tuscaloosa, and I don't want to say how many years I've been doing this. I don't know if I can count that high, but yeah, really big proponent of the program, and glad to be doing this.
All right, and then we've got our team mascot here tonight. Hunter, introduce yourself.
Hunter Johnson, became an Alabama baseball fan when I was on the cover of the Media Guide in 1995, and it just kind of continued on from that. Followed the team from afar when I lived in Fort Worth. Obviously followed them in college, but from afar when I lived in Fort Worth. And then ever since I moved back to Tuscaloosa, have been fortunate enough to attend games with Roger and then now Meghan and now Paul. So yeah, just a big Alabama baseball fan.
There you go. And Token Barner Evelyn, who we hopefully get a cameo here. Maybe,
All right.
Let her bring you some. I hope she's making you a sandwich.
Hopefully, if my beer runs out, I've got her hugger here, the Roll Tide Willie, get you a swaller or what you rank at, which is her favorite, obviously.
Yes.
And so hopefully everybody's got a drink poured and we'll get right into it. All right, here we go. We're midway through the conference season. And obviously a lot of ups and downs, and here we go. We're about to kick off our second weekend in a row of a number one team coming to town. Roger, can you think of any time that's happened here before?
I cannot, and don't have access to Barry.
I would say Barry Allen be like, in 1991, we played LSU and Mississippi State back to back.
You got to get a snort in there too.
So big weekends. I
was going to say, I don't think LSU was nearly as good in 2017 when it was LSU in Florida. I know we had them back-to-back weekends. Right. But at least at home, that would have been the last time that I could think of it. But yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
We did. First time we'd beaten a number one team in a series in quite a while.
Yeah.
And first time ever to shut out a number one.
Shut out. Yeah, the Sunday game shutout was definitely a first. So anyway, we head into this weekend 6-9 in the conference. Nice, as we pointed out, very nice. What are your thoughts, guys? You satisfied? You're about where we should be, given the schedule. What's the gut feel of this group, Hunter?
I feel like we're probably about like where I thought we would be. Obviously you've had some injuries that have hurt on the pitching staff. You didn't think you'd be without Riley Quick right now. But considering everything that's happened injury-wise, probably about where I thought it would be, because this schedule is so front-loaded. The beginning of this SEC schedule is so much more difficult than the back end. Alabama's going to have a really good opportunity to get some wins on the back half of the schedule. And I think getting to 6-9, and even if you're 7-11 or 8-10 going into that back half or the back end of the schedule, I feel like you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, Roger, your thoughts?
Maybe thought more, maybe 7-8 or 8-7, but also it's flipped on who I thought. I had no thought of getting swept by Georgia and Kentucky.
Or Kentucky, yeah. We felt good knowing, we're getting those two this year.
And Georgia's turned out to be about probably where they should be. Right. But that was a bad matchup for us. And then Kentucky's they're good for some reason.
And we had no idea they were going to be so good.
Right. So and then you turn around and you got, we played number 1, number 3, and number 10 at the time at home.
10, yes.
All 3 of the series. which we might not have thought. Maybe we thought we'd go 1-2 in one of those.
Yeah.
And win a couple of games. I thought we'd win a couple of games at Georgia. And before the season started, I thought we would win the series in Kentucky. And then it's like, okay, well, we need to get one out. But I mean, they're sitting at 14-1, and
they're 2 games up. They're 2 games up on anyone in the conference right now. I mean,
I feel like considering how things have turned out in the league, like, did it look like how I thought it would be going into the season? Probably not. But considering how everybody is in the league, you're pretty happy with 6-9 right now.
Yeah, yeah. Meghan, you feel that way? You good?
Yeah, I mean, echoing that, like, I would have had Georgia or Kentucky being good this year, especially coming off of last season. So, I mean, it's a bad year not to have Mizzou, but we got a lot of winnable games coming up, so can't be too mad.
And then LSU and Auburn are, holding up the bottom, which we didn't, at least with LSU, we didn't think.
Outside looking in.
Didn't think the barn would be quite as bad as.
No,
of course, it's a brutal schedule.
And that's the thing. So I did a little research here. As y'all know, I'll do a little crack research here. Strength of schedule. Auburn is 1. LSU's 34. Auburn's RPI, despite being 2-13 in the conference right now, is 35. So again, it's just the teams that have beaten them are that bad.
We've been there before. We've been in similar situations before.
Yep. Griff, your thoughts on it? Just the first.
I'll kind of be I'll juxtapose Meghan. It's as bad as Missouri is, they swept Florida. It's truly kind of been a funky season, but I think it goes a long way to kind of what Hunter said. It's glad to be where we are in the standings, but as bad as the offense has looked at times, they've also kept us in a lot of series. I mean, for having as much turnover as we had it from last year, and Gage continuing to do what Gage does at top lineup, TJ looking like his All-American self from 2021. It's the offense is continuing to carry us, which we did it against Arkansas last weekend. I don't know why we wouldn't be able to do it again this weekend. I don't know if we'll take 2 or 3, but that's kind of where my head is at. Is that if we can hang with Arkansas, who everyone said was consensus number 1, they're running away with it. They've been forever. Why is A&M any different?
Their A&M offense is much scarier.
It's a different.
They have dudes up and down their lineup.
Yeah. A&M is going to be, I think, comparable to Tennessee, probably more so. I mean, just the way that lineup is stacked. They've hit similar number of home runs. Now you look at that 2 out of 3 win series with Tennessee right now. It looks really damn good now. Right out of the gate, you never know what you can get that first weekend. We win a one run game and pull off the series. Now that series looks really, really good. To speak to Hunter's point earlier, the back end of this schedule, and I tweeted something about this the other night. So a lot of we'll probably have 100,000 or so listen to this podcast. Maybe 50,000 saw the tweet, but our first 5, the first 5 series, the SEC records of those teams was a cumulative 51-24. Okay, the back end. So the next 5 we play is 28-47, and just to get it out there, A&M obviously number 1 in the country at 11-4. We go to Ole Miss, we go to State. Ole Miss now 5-10 after taking 2 or 3 from State, so they're capable. State 7-8, LSU's 3-12, and the Barn 2-13. So you get by A&M, like you said, Hunter. Maybe you win 1, maybe you find a way and win 2. God forbid you sweep, you just don't get swept. You get through that fairly decently, and the last 4 teams you're playing in conference have a 17-43 record right now. Now, partly again, we talk about Auburn. Their schedule has been hellacious. LSU's just been bad, and I've said it repeatedly. Their 3 wins have come in, 5 of the 5 games that Luke Holman started. He got 3 wins. They hadn't won another game in conference, so that back end is definitely gettable. These teams will be better. Some of them might tank it. Could you see LSU and Auburn on the back end with nothing to play for?
I'd love it.
Yeah, I would love to see
that. Right now, both those teams are outside looking in to even get to Hoover, which is amazing, kind of where we are. We're 3 north of what I'll call the Hoover line, right? We're with 6 wins and LSU at 3. And
Yeah,
a
we're
lot of
sitting at 10th right now.
at 10th. Yeah. So, we're pretty good shape with the back end being what it is. But it will be really interesting to see how that back end shakes out. At some point, one of those couple of teams will make a run. Just some other thoughts on the beginning of the season. I mean, you're looking at those last 15. Where's your head around how many of those we get? I'll throw my over-unders out. 8.5 over-under. Where do you think we get out of these next 15? Griff?
We're 6-9 right now, and you said 8.5.
8.5, yeah.
I'll say over. I mean, I'd like to think that we can get to 14 and 16 and set us up in a really good chance to do damage in Hoover and just kind of I think we'll be better than what the committee jobbed us with last year as a 16 seed, but I think we still have a really good chance to host.
Go ahead, Meghan.
I'm not a math major, but I think Griff said over and then predicted a record that's under.
No, 8. Well, 14. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
went 8 and 7 for the final.
So no one said math would be involved, Hunter. But yes, you're probably right. My math is terrible. So
yeah, what's your pick, Meghan? Over under 8.5.
Well, I said 11 last weekend, so we got 2. So I guess going back to math, I'm going over.
You're going over. You're going 9-ish. Okay, so you guys at 15. Roger, Hunter, either y'all. You think we're good for 9 of these?
10 and 5.
10 5.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about, Roger. I'm dumbing my ass off. I'm saying we get to 16 and 14.
Roger, don't give a piss about nothing but the tie. There he goes. There he goes.
I really don't. Hear what any of the rest of them.
Yeah, Hunter, your thought?
Yeah, I've got us over. I got the same thing as Roger. I got us getting to 16 and 14.
Yeah,
Meghan, last year. So
yeah. Meghan, you sent this out a little bit earlier. Maybe you got it right there in front of you. If not, just tell me. I'll read it. But the D1 kind of had one of their first field of 64s, or at least the first one. It kind of starts mattering.
They put that out this morning. A&M as the 1 seed, Arkansas as the 2, Kentucky as the 4th, Tennessee 6. So 4 top national seeds.
Yep. Right.
And then from there, Vandy is a 2 seed going to number 14 Duke. We are at a 2 seed going to UVA because as always, D1 doesn't respect the tide. With that, they have us matched up with Utah and Georgetown as well to round out that regional. UGA 2 seed at number 5 FSU. State a 2 seed at number 3.
2 seed, yeah. 2 seed, yep.
Wow.
And then Florida, a 3 seed, going to number 7 UNC. And then just some of our other opponents that we've seen, Southern Miss and Stanford are both a 3 and 4 seed respectively, going to number 9 Eastern Carolina. DBU, a 2 seed at number 13 Oklahoma State, and then Arizona, a 2 seed at Kentucky.
Yeah. I could live with a 2 seed. I think you're obviously, just getting in is key. I think you win 8 of these. I go back to the 8.5. You win 8 and you're pretty locked in as a 2. You win 9, maybe you do a little in Hoover. Although I've kind of felt like the last few years, the last couple anyway, they're not really paying a hell of a lot of attention to what happens in those conference tournaments unless you come out of nowhere and win it.
Kind of like basketball too. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of happening.
They've got those things decided before the
the
tournament finals. Typically, it seems like, right, Hunter? Don't you think?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think that this is no shot at our athletic or Greg Byrne, who's on the NCAA basketball committee, or Craig Burns, as we call him, sitting in the home plate club. But I do think they're a little bit lazy in the way that they view conference tournaments. Like, it takes somebody doing something really, really serious for it to actually matter. Otherwise, you're not really moving off of a line.
Right.
But I think if you talked about 8 wins, you're pretty much at a 2. 9, you're iffy.
Mm-hmm.
You get to 10. I think you're essentially a lock to host. I don't know that you're not in a situation like we were last year where we were a lock to host. And we're obviously John Cohen being the chair of the committee, he screwed us.
Barner.
But that Barner. Yeah. But have an opportunity to be a really high end of those 1 seeds.
We were thinking 8, 9. I mean, we were thinking, could you
no worse than 10 or 11?
Yeah,
I mean,
that was my thought as well.
Right. I mean, and definitely should have been ahead of the barn.
Right.
I mean,
I plan on talking shit. I think I can say shit on him. To both John Cohen and his sister the next time that I see them anywhere close to the home plate club.
I hope they don't sit them behind us again.
That's right. That's right.
Amy and Doris behind us again.
Yeah.
John's mom and sister.
Yeah. Well,
of course, Murph brought the other sister to the home plate club here during the regionals.
Well, we'll obviously update this. I mean, because every week changes. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, last week I was trying to pump sunshine on Spaces, talking about how, hey, this, we still got things to play for, and then we go take 2 out of 3 from number 1. So I mean, again, we might take 2 out of 3 from number 1, and our sights set higher. I feel like we can get 9 and get to 15, mainly just based on the schedule. And again, those last 6. If you look at LSU and you look at Auburn, and again, they'll have made up a little ground after that, because I don't think they're just that awful. It's just having something to play for. Now the problem is we didn't play worth a damn on the road, and we got to go on the road a lot. We got 3 of these last 5 series on the road, but again, we'll see how it shakes out. Any big surprises or disappointments? We talked about that a little bit. I mean, to me, the biggest disappointments has just been the pitching injuries and just what would have been. It seems like we've gone through this a lot over the years, but missing Riley Quick, missing Hagen Banks, Evelyn out when
Bobby Alcott, we don't know what he would have done.
Right.
He would have taken some innings anyway.
The games we were without Bryce Evelyn, about was it 2 weekends? I mean, look what difference.
Yeah.
What a difference that made last weekend. I mean, that was it was night and day. Just getting that bat on the bottom end of your order to kind of to give you a spark. So, what do you guys see? You kind of saw mine out there tweeted the other night. It just kind of keys. I think the pitching staff's kind of crystallized a little bit. You kind of know who your high leverage guys are. You look at how this past weekend went. We'll get into it a little more. What are the biggest keys? Is it defense? Is it hitting? Is it pitching? Is it just what's your give me your top 2 or 3?
I mean, I would say that really I'm excited for the fact that I feel like Zane Adams has solidified himself as a weekend starter. So we know that there's no TBD this week, thankfully. Honestly, I didn't think it should have been last week, probably. No. Hodo's got to get better at first. I realized that. Shout out Riggs Stevenson on Twitter. Hodo is just we got to have better defensive play at first. And I feel like we've gotten really acclimated to having stellar defensive play there due to the SEC leader and all-time putouts, Drew Williamson, playing there for us.
Yep.
And Hodo's he's got to have some awareness, man. There was a play last night, I'm sure we'll talk about it, where he doesn't need to make the play on the ball.
That's second
him doing it, because we got Bryce over there, and I realized Bryce is a little bit injured, but he can get over there to that ball. We have a better chance of making it out by him doing that than we do Will Hodo and trying to get a lefty over there.
A lefty, who fell off.
Just being aware, and I think we took for granted that with Drew Williamson so much.
And not to single out, our defense has been bad. Now, this past weekend was stellar. It was fantastic. It was key to the weekend, frankly, between supporting the pitching and I think I tweeted it as well. It certainly helps when you're not just walking guys constantly. You're hitting guys, you're walking guys, you're giving free passes, and the defense has just got pressure on them. You got situations, you got guys on base. It certainly looked like the defense played looser and more relaxed over the past weekend. That to me,
but I mean, I don't know how much better any of them are going to get right now, Hunter.
No. I don't know.
I really hope I don't get any angry DMs from the Hodos.
But oh my God, what LeBron did last night! Those 2 plays, I mean, that Bronny made last night were just
those
big league plays.
Yeah, and he's seemingly just doing that at will now. It's just,
and I would also say that's a positive. I would say for him to come in and take over that shortstop job,
right,
and really, I wouldn't. Jarvis is going to make the plays that were, he wasn't going to do anything super, super exceptional, but he was going to make the plays. I feel like with LeBron, he's making some exceptional plays.
He is. Yeah.
Might have a freshman mistake every once in a while, but I don't think we've really had drop off at the shortstop position.
No, not at all. No.
Not either.
No.
And definitely going forward, I mean, he's got a much higher ceiling than Jim.
Yeah. Meghan, who's got to be, which bat that isn't carrying us right now has got to carry us or win a weekend for us to get us to those 9 or 10?
I think I'm going to stick with it's got to be TJ, and I think it'll come. I mean, he's been in this league too long for it'll come back around and he's going to pick back up, but this weekend would be ideal time for it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And Griff, from a pitching standpoint, if you look up and down that staff, who has to have the biggest second half of the conference season to get us to 9 or 10 or 8 or 9, 8, 9, 10, whatever.
I mean, I'd hate to be, I feel like it's obvious, but I feel like, the Jekyll and Hyde of Ben Hess is just, it's been tough. I mean, if he can find his stuff and be, on point every single time he steps on the mound, he's really, really good. I mean, we saw it in Kentucky and there was obviously a few pitches there that got away from him, but when he's dialed in, I don't know if there's, frankly, a better pitcher on our staff. I mean, Ferrone is throwing it very well. Obviously, Zane Adams has looked like a complete stud stepping in as a freshman. Yeah, I think if Hess can just be heater for next couple of weeks and do work, obviously this weekend against A&M and then on the road, I think that, we'll definitely get to 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So,
we'll probably talk about this further, but I was going to say, with Hess, I wonder if maybe the Friday night thing's a deal. And if he has a good outing this weekend, it's going to be Friday night, but yet it won't be the first game of the series.
Right.
If he has because me and Paul have talked about endlessly, he's really good until we get a guy on base. And when we get a guy on base, things just go to hell.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a pressure thing. I don't know if it's an over pitching thing, but if he has a good outing on Friday night, I say push him back and throw Ferrone the first game of the series moving forward.
Yeah, right. Because when you go later in the year and you're facing, Holman and State's going to throw a really good arm on their first 2 nights, and then you get later into that. I mean, it's a little bit sketchier for them. Maybe it is a better situation. He's not having to carry you, and he's the thing I see is he's running his pitch count up and he's just not eating up those innings. Yeah, and
he'll get through 4 normally.
Right.
He did give up those 3 early, and then the 5th inning's been getting.
Fifth where he's been getting it. Yeah.
And then, but the next 2, this week and next week, are both Thursday, Friday, Saturday series.
Yeah. Right.
So I would imagine he will stay on Friday again.
Maybe stay on.
Pushed Greg pretty early this time though from Saturday.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah, really did. They kind of got
when he came out after 5, in the late count, but that was really a must-win game. So I can't see them planning ahead at that point.
The fortunate thing on that night, so on Friday night, the thing to me that saved the weekend, and we'll get into those games, was the guys out of the pen on Friday night behind Ben.
Sam Mitchell, Zane
Probst, who have not been high leverage guys. And then again, they're coming into that game and we're down 5-0, right? And to hold that game where it was, we damn near came back and won that game. I mean, we had a chance there. We just, we got 2 guys on and we won out and we, didn't move them and that kind of did it in the 8th. But for those guys to come in and throw 4 innings and basically, wow, 3 guys on base over 4 innings. Yeah. That was clutch, and you could see Zane Zane was pretty pumped walking out of there. He hadn't pitched a whole lot, and when he was coming off in the I don't know if it was the 8th or the 9th when he was coming off, you could tell that those guys were pumped. And that was big because you didn't have to touch anyone in your bullpen. That enabled you to go back-to-back nights with AD. That enabled you to stretch out Tyler for 3 innings the next night and really position yourself to win those games. So big things that night. All right. So before we get into Arkansas, let's just go ahead and get it out there. we'll spend 5 minutes talking about this and just what a disaster last night
maybe
was.
Less. Maybe less.
Okay. All right. So, we lose to UAB 5-2 to Birmingham. Sorry, Roger. Birmingham U.
Also, real quick, before this game, Casey Dunn walks over, and we like Casey Dunn. Casey Dunn's a good guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, former Stanford coach at Barner, but a good Barner. He walks over to me and Drew, and he's telling me this game might not. He said this might be a 6.5 inning baseball game. He's like, there's no way that we'll have a because we talked about last year and them getting a starter, I think into the 9th or into the 8th. And he's like, there's no way that's happening today. And then we hit 2 bombs in the first inning. I was like, all right, Casey might have been right. But it turns out he's a sandbagging son of a bitch because he was telling us, I'm sitting here prepared for a run rule game, and they end up beating us.
But as Drew pulled up and showed us the ERAs of those guys that they pitched, 6.85, 12.0, who shut us out for 3 innings. Clack at 6.46, shut us out for 3 innings. And Marlin, who got his last 2 innings, 17.28.
Yeah.
Well, they were due, Roger. They were clearly due.
They were. Yeah. What's worse, losing to Birmingham U or getting shut down by a guy named Clack?
That's just like
it's both bad.
It's the worst of everything.
So all right, so here are the implications of last night, and it feels like 2022 again, obviously, when we were outside looking in at the end of the year, partially, but mainly because we went 12-17 in the conference, but we were just putrid in midweek games that year. And I've said this repeatedly. Anyone that's heard these spaces before, pitching injuries begat bad midweek performances, and when Riley Quick is out for the year, somebody bumps up that was going to be middle average midweek that goes into the weekend, or your arm options get limited when you got 2 guys out for the year and you got a third guy like you mentioned that we hadn't seen, and you start getting a little thin, and you got a Thursday series starting. And you just got off of 2 or 3. These games can be tricky. They shouldn't be, because the main problem was hitting. Right, we didn't do shit off the plate. We got 4 hits in the first inning, 2 on the left the yard. Then we left 2 guys on. Anybody want to guess how many hits we had over the next 8?
One
Not
dribble.
many.
One
2?
dribble. 7.
Yeah.
One
hit. We got shut down in 8 innings. The only thing they did, they hit they're hitting our best player twice and they're breaking his foot. That's hitting was it. That was it. Nobody up and down the lineup had more than a hit. We had 5 overall. We only draw 1 walk against that staff. That's a pedestrian staff at best.
In their 9th in their league, whatever they are.
Yeah, it's that bad. Yeah. Okay, so here's
maybe sometimes the Wolves need to be a little less hungry.
Yeah. The hitting approach last night was back to what we did at Kentucky against a hell of a lot better pitching staff, and that cost us. All right, so here's the implications again of this. Our RPI drops last night from 18 to 23. Now, beating UAB wasn't going to do a damn thing for your RPI, but it wasn't going to drop you 5 slots. So now we got an RPI loss to 173 UAB, to USA, who's 82 and usually is a little better than that. And DBU is a 20. So it's a relative positive. And you've got to have you want that RPI in your low teens. We were positioned pretty well for that. The conference games are going to take care of that, obviously, but you just can't drop to 173. Real weird defensive first inning. And in fact,
they hit 1 ball out of the infield.
Yeah, they get 2 runs, and they could have gotten a hell of a lot more. The bases were loaded with nobody out, and they got 2 runs home. Coach in his post game, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I saw a couple of comments. Our focus wasn't good enough on the defensive end. Yeah, that nailed it.
3 dribblers and the bases are loaded. And sack fly and and then a ball right in front of the plate where.
Yep. And he gloved it.
I could have stepped up and tagged the guy.
Yeah. Or just let him go and get an out, somewhere. Right. And it ended up being the second run. We miss a force at second. It was a bang play. That we talked about the Hodo play kind of drifting over too far. Bronny made a throw. I thought they gave an error. They didn't. kind of made a little bit of an errant throw, and Will had to stretch off and get it. So weird inning, but we turned it right around and we hit 2 home runs, and we're right back, right back where we started after an inning. So you're right back and you reset, and then you get your ass kicked for 8 innings. I mean, you basically, just get smacked over the next 8. They got 3 runs after that on a solo homer in the 5th. And then we walk a guy, they get a double, and we throw a wild pitch, and that gets another run home. And then in the 8th, they get a leadoff trip on a sac fly. And I mean, that's all they needed. I mean, 5 runs and UAB's pitching staff makes it hold. So I don't know, just a disappointing night. And just, you're going to have these, but I mean, you like to maybe have it because, hey, all right, let's throw a true freshman starter out there on a Tuesday night and see what happens, or let's rest 4 or 5 guys. We didn't do that. We went, we didn't go with our, weekend pitchers or anything. I mean, we had pretty much our everyday lineup out there.
But I would say this also, it's also the ultimate sandwich game. You had the number 1 team coming in last weekend. You got the number 1 team coming in this weekend. Ultimate time for a letdown. Like was I frustrated by it? Obviously, but doing something well this weekend could absolutely resolve that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we totally forget about this if we win 2 out of 3 this weekend. But just back in your mind, you think about, okay, the USA game, the UAB game are going to do some pretty bad damage to our RPI, and then that puts you in that position like you're talking about, where you might, hey, you could have been you could have gotten that 16 seed or that 15 seed, and now you're a 2 looking in somewhere. That's where it hurts you. Good news, bad news, I guess. I mean, we've only got 2 more midweek games left. I'm assuming that Jacksonville game will not get made up because I don't know when they could do it.
Sure.
They've got conflicts on any day we would possibly be open, or Wednesdays.
And why would we really want to?
And no, because I mean, and here's why. The RPIs of these teams. I didn't write Jacksonville's down, but Sanford, who we play at home, and then Troy away, they're 81 and 61 in the RPI. So they're not, it didn't do anything for you, but against the guys some reps. I mean, you win, great. You lose, bad.
Jacksonville State's 179th. So
So
between that and no one really wants to see Eli, but it's all right. We're fine. Only.
Yeah. We won't see Jacksonville State, but we're going to see another guy this weekend in the Texas A&M rotation who transferred from Jacksonville State, which we already saw the Tennessee weekend. I'll get into that. So all that to say, 2 more midweek games. You just need to win them. And hope you don't have a performance like that. All right, so we're gonna flush that damn game. I want to hear another thing about that game. And let's move on. Let's talk about something more pleasant. We'll start the bad game first. Last weekend, Arkansas comes to town. They were as advertised. I mean, and we talked about it on the space last week. It's a great pitching team. Friday night, Hagen Smith was. What y'all think? I mean, as advertised, I thought.
Yes.
Impressive as anything I'd seen out there, and he really didn't have his best stuff. I mean, they pulled him after 6, had a 5-0 lead. He walked 3 guys. I think he struck out maybe 8. No, wait a minute. No, he struck out 6. We just ran his pitch count up. He was up around 96. But what impressed me was how every guy they brought in looked like a big league arm coming on. And then I look, and as a true freshman or McIntyre, Fouch, the guy that comes in behind him, Molina on Saturday night. I mean, they just sent arm after arm after arm, and I guess the thing that night, it was really about Hagen and him just keeping you at bay for 6 innings, and then you got to that bullpen a little bit, but didn't do enough. I thought it was really, really important that we were able to run him after 6 because that made their bullpen have to do a little bit more that night. If he gets into 8 innings, then you're probably seeing some of those arms you saw on Saturday. You're seeing them on Sunday. Seen them twice.
And those Sunday arms were not great. Like that bullpen had a little bit of a drop off late.
Right.
But like Paul said, those guys they were bringing out in the bullpen both on Friday and Saturday were really, really good arms.
Yeah. To your point, McIntyre, who came in and who's the guy we hit really well in the 7th. McIntyre, and then on Friday, and then Fouch, who came in behind Molina and went 1 2/3. Those are probably their 2 best guys, and they tend to be, as I've understood, guys that they do use a couple of times a weekend. The other thing working in our favor, and you may have noticed this last night, they were playing a home game with Texas Tech. They're actually playing a 2-game series, so kind of a weird.
They're up 5-3 with bases loaded right now.
5-3. So kind of
Bottom
a
of the
weird midweek scheduling setup for them that may have influenced that a little bit. Maybe you don't go throw these guys Sunday with 2 games, a Tuesday, Wednesday. So
McIntyre threw twice.
Yeah, he did. That's right. Yeah, I guess he came back in. He came back on Sunday on the back end. But you're right. You didn't see. Hewlett went twice, but he only threw. Hewlett's kind of a situational guy. They come in, lefty on lefty or righty on righty, and just however he went. But that's all he did was basically get 1 out. So I totally agree. You got to them, got into their pen, didn't win it, but positioned pretty well to show up the next day. And then Saturday was just just kind of a dogfight. I mean, we jump out. We put 2 on board. They match us through the 6th, and then you go into the the 8th. We get 1. The 9th, they hit a bomb off of AD that might not have landed yet.
With 2 outs, yeah. With
2. Where did he hit that bomb to?
He hit that to the Hugh Culverhouse Jr. School of Law, right the front porch of it. And anyway, but I felt really felt really good that night because Ferrone goes out there, gives you 5, really low pitch count. Like you said, I kind of thought they went away from a little bit early. I'm not sure what the rationale was there. Do y'all have any thoughts on that?
Well, maybe the fact that because of the 2 guys the night before, they didn't have to use Fay.
Yeah.
And
knowing you could run Fay for 3 innings.
Right.
And he gave really 3 good innings. And,
yeah. So
he threw 3 innings through 33 pitches.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, the first guy hits a bomb off of him, and then he was lights out. Beyond
Nobody.
I think I called it one of those where legends are made performance for him that night. And his parents were there, which was great. They're super nice folks.
They're really nice folks.
Yeah, really nice, and so I was glad to get them to see them do that. AD comes in, again another 2-inning play for AD, and like it can be with AD. I mean, you're going to get the drama, man. You're going to get some situations, but the homer he gave up with 2 outs was that was really deflating, because then you kind of feel like, well, there goes the weekend. There's no way we're going to win this game. Y'all kind of have that dread feeling, like I did.
It was definitely for sure.
From the moment the ball hit the bat.
Like, here we go again.
It was a tank. It was a tank. And then he actually got kind of a tough error. I thought was that on that night? Was that when he got the error? Or was that the next day?
I think it was the next day.
It was the next day. It was like
Diggs hit that little dribbler that he
little dribbler.
They gave him a signal on that.
Okay, all right, they did give us because it was kind of it was a tough play for you to make as a lefty going over toward first. But the fact that we end up winning a pitcher's duel on a defensive error by a pitcher, I think is like the irony of all ironies.
And particularly after the plays they had made to keep the game alive. The right fielder and the shortstop.
Right.
Diggs, Robin, Bronny, and then the shortstop going in the hole and getting Hodo.
Yeah. For those of you who didn't maybe see it or don't know who, Wahia Aloy, who transferred from Hawaii, so he's new to the country.
From Hawaii, but went to Sacramento State.
Went to Sacramento, yeah. But he's Hawaiian, so I mean,
that was where he learned. He learned English at Sacramento State.
Exactly.
Right. So he was raised in a foreign country and then moved to America, and probably is still battling the language barrier. Don't you imagine? To some extent.
But he's got a countryman with him.
That's right.
Yeah. the DH kid, Sosa.
Yeah,
Also-
Sosa. Yeah,
also
Sousa. Yeah.
country guy, so
Yeah, Sousa. No one's Sousa. But anyway, yeah, he was that guy gets to everything. They're always well positioned. I mean, they seem like they scouted well. So he did a lot of good things. Just a tough team. I mean, it's like I think I tweeted at some point during the game. It's like, man, the 27th out to get on those guys is really tough. And then when we had a chance to win it in the ninth, that was a really tough run to get home. I mean, it was just, it was going to be hard to beat them. Like that guy tweeted, they just don't lose. Well, they've lost twice since then, but,
yeah.
But that's a hard team to beat. That's, there's a reason they were, 11-1 going into the weekend. So big win. I'm thinking of games like that have finished that way lately. I mean, and against the number one team, trying to remember a game that you felt that good after. Maybe the Vandy game on Sunday last year.
Yeah, we needed something to feel good about.
Yeah, because we had clocked them pretty good on the Friday night, took our lump the next night, and then Mac hits that homer late, and we win that. And it's the weekend. Everything went down with Bo. Maybe the most comparable thing I've seen there, or that I could think of in a conference game. But kudos to the pitching staff. And then we go to Sunday. And again, the Zane Adams game. I mean, like Jordan had the flu game. This was the Zane Adams game. And every inning, I kind of had it. How we are obsessing about the pitch count. I'm Roger, let's just count. And
Yeah.
and
it was
then
great.
you look. I think he had 2 innings with 4 pitches, if I remember right. So they were kind of playing into our hands a little bit there. But it just, you kept looking. It's like, yeah, maybe you can go another inning, or maybe you can go another inning.
And we were even thinking that after the 8th, like maybe send him back out there.
You sitting in 97 at that point.
Yeah.
4 hits, 1 walk. 1 walk. Think of our weekend against Kentucky and how awful we were, how many free passes we gave. We gave 1 walk that night. We gave 1 walk the night before, and and then the night before that we walked 5 guys and we hit a couple. So I mean, the game you lost, you gave a bunch of free passes. These others, there's your game right there. That keeps you in it and allows you your defense to be sharp. Your bats to kind of do their thing.
I thought we did a really good job of running up their guys' pitch count. He was at 87 through 5. Like, right. So
much better than
much better. We're more patient to the plate and got into that pen where they didn't have the arms that they did on Friday night.
Right. Griff, you were watching from afar, or saw it on TV, as it was playing out on TV, the Zane game.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? Just,
very special. I mean, for a freshman to walk into that situation and, number one team in the country and give up 4 hits over the course of 8 innings. I mean, it's pretty unreal. And, he runs into, quote unquote trouble, but, some damage in the 4th where guy gets on base and you're like, well, here, Arkansas, they could figure it out. And then, gets a double play. And then, the next inning, it's just 3 up and 3 down. It's not like it's phasing him at all. So he just looks so composed to be in that situation. And to Hunter's point, there's no more TBD. I think that he's locked in.
It's settled science. It is. So he, in 2-out situations with guys on base or in scoring position, he just inevitably got that fly ball, and it looked like the defense was a little fresher. They were, getting the balls that maybe in the past would be like, oh boy, I don't know if we're going to get to it. And they're right there getting to them. Bronny makes all the plays over there. Gage did a great job over there at third. Now the baffling thing I still hadn't figured out, and I think this was Sunday, was when they were rounding third with the guy and he put on the brakes. And I still can't figure from watching it if he slipped, he thought he was getting stopped.
I think he slipped, but I don't know. It may have been because he might have thought he heard, whoa, or back or stop or something.
Right.
I saw their base coach sending him. And so I stopped looking at that point and I'm looking toward home plate. And then I look up and like, oh, there's not a play.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking like, because they had to have scouted us to know that, like,
we're going to run on the south field. Yeah.
Everybody does that.
And it was pretty, I mean, it was a clean hit. It's not like, I mean, most any left fielder in baseball is not going to throw that guy out the plate, probably there. You know, you might, some guys are going to make it closer than others. So we got a little bit of a favor there, I thought, and then got out of it. But yeah, he kept getting lazy fly ball after lazy fly ball after weak ground ball after weak ground ball and you know, a few decent defensive plays. But again, the same thing. He did not shoot himself in the foot. You know, he didn't put guys on. He was sharp. Everything was, he was so precise. I mean, he wasn't having to nip corners and he wasn't having to move way up and down in the zone, man. He's just throwing the ball, man. He was just throwing that. You know, here, hit this shit. You want to hit it? Try it. You know,
he's a cool customer.
It was a ballsy performance. I thought very, very ballsy. Going back, and one of you mentioned a minute ago, you know, pitch counts, how we work batters and work things and all. I harped on this last week as like like Nate Oates over here, you know, eggheading with a bunch of, let me see the numbers. I'm over talking about last week how we saw so many fewer pitches than our opponent. All right, so let's talk about this weekend, how that changed. Friday night, we threw 158 pitches. All right. Hess threw 101 of those, and then the bullpen guys in the last 4 innings, you know, threw the rest. With Smith out there, you know, at 96, they threw 163. So, you know, again, we worked Smith a little bit. I mean, we drew 3 walks on him. We didn't get a lot of walks off these other guys, but I think we worked them a little bit. So we actually won the pitch count battle, if you want to call it that. You know, 163 to 158 on Saturday is a blowout. I mean, we threw 133. And we saw 158. All right. And again, it's a 10-inning game. So they'll, you know, again, a little better setup. And then on Sunday, just a well-pitched game all around, really. We threw 113. They threw 125. So again, up or down. I mean, you could lose these games 14-3 and have those numbers, but I think in our case, it's a good sign that we worked them a little better than we did Kentucky, right? And the results
not to bring the UAB game up, but it was like we didn't do that. Like it was like something changed, and that's frustrating. Right. And there you go. You know, Arkansas, just reflections on Arkansas. I mean, obviously they'll move on and they'll go win, you know, their next 15, they'll win 12 of them. And I mean, they'll still be right up there fighting Kentucky for the league title. Not a great hitting team. Didn't think Dave Van Horn was as crotchety as normal. Normally you see him be a little bit more of a crotchety old man, and I felt like he was less of an old codger than he normally is.
And in the series, we hit 247 and they hit 156.
150. Wow. I mean, there you go. Hats off to your pitching staff there.
102.
Yep.
And Drew Bateman, they had walks.
Yeah.
And 2 hit batters, so only 10 free bases on top of that. So,
so they had 6 hits one night, 6 hits in game 2, and 4 hits in game 3. I mean, that's our pitching staff doing that to the number 1 team in the country, by the way.
And then we actually drew 9 walks and had 4 hit batters, so we had 13 free bases to their 10.
Yeah,
so that's different.
Right.
Yeah, I know I brought it up last week, but I totally thought that we just needed to settle down at the plate. I felt like Kentucky, it's a lot of first or second pitch swinging, and we're going to see a lot of good arms from here on out, even if some of the records don't show that way. But we, when we relax, and sure, the beginning of the year was completely different competition, but when you settle down a little bit and you just take more pitches, and sure, you may not get a hit every single time, but I know those guys relate to everyone else in the dugout, so somebody else is going to get a crack at them. So
somebody else.
That paid off this weekend.
Right.
One good thing, I mean, TJ busted out a little bit. He went 4 for 12.
Mm-hmm.
Page did his thing, 4 for 11, and Snell was 5 for 11 and didn't start the first game.
Yeah. And I'll say this too. Slight got dropped down in the order. Had an 0 for weekend with Kentucky, if I remember right. He was 0 for going into Sunday, and even though he found a way to contribute, right? That in the was it the 7th that we got the
sack fly and the hit by pitch and the sack fly were both big.
Yeah.
Got
7th
hit
and
in
8th.
the 7th and had the sack fly in the 8th.
Yeah. So I mean, 2 big at bats to cap the weekend for him. That I'm sitting here just in total, like I'm like biting my nails. Fingers are bleeding. We're 1-0 going in the 7th in that game, and we've had so many seemingly opportunities that we let slip away, or just
sitting next to Paul, it was pretty brutal, honestly, for this game. I mean, Paul's constantly like, "Oh, we got all these chances, we won't take advantage of them." And like, Paul, man, they hadn't scored, bro. Like, I realize they probably will at some point, but they haven't yet. Like, calm down.
But you felt like they were gonna. I mean, they had not hit worth a damn all weekend. They're the number 1 team in the country.
You just
felt like they're gonna put up a 7
and
spot.
I felt that way too. I just didn't need him telling me like the way that I already felt.
And then, I mean, to compound that in the 7th, okay, Evan gets hit by that pitch, Mac bumps him up.
Yeah.
Then Bryce blasts it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Gage follows with a double. Petrutz gets hit, so we got 1st and 2nd with 1 out, and then Gage got to 3rd actually.
He got 3rd. Yeah.
He got to 3rd, and then we got a strikeout and a pop up, and there you go again.
There you go. That's what kills me. Why aren't we up 8-0 right now?
Right.
Yeah. Big having Bryce back. I mentioned. Again, you got power on the bottom end, the back end of the order. Where you don't have
not just having Bryce back, but Bryce looked like he could run.
He did. Which surprised me.
Because that's what I asked Roger when we had him in the line. I was like, can he run? And he looked like we'll play some guys even if they might not be up to the task. See Will Hamilton starting in right field for the entire 2021 season.
Right.
And he couldn't throw the baseball.
Right.
He looked good.
Yeah.
And having him in the infield is just a tremendous advantage too.
And again, a shout out to the Zane Adams performance. SEC pitcher of the week, co-pitcher. I think it was one of the guys that it was
A&M guy.
A&M guy, a couple good bullpen outings or something. LeBron's play at shortstop, made all the highlight reels. You've seen it. It went viral on Twitter. You mentioned first shutout of a number 1 team in program history. Think about our home field. I mean, what we're doing at home these days. That's that series wins over the number 2, the number 7, and the number 13 RPI teams so far, right? So Tennessee, and number 1's coming to town this weekend. And then you think about, like we mentioned, Vandy last year comes to town, and we smacked them around pretty good. We did the same to Arkansas at the end of 22. It's really, I don't know, the buzz at these home weekends, particularly these big ones like this, feels a little different than it did 2-3 years ago. You guys, Megan, you're nodding. You agree?
100%. And that's one thing I wanted to make sure to shout out was Riley Quick, Austin Morris. They were in the dugout getting the team involved, which I feel like we really haven't had all year up until this past weekend. And it was yes, we lost Friday night, but there was a noticeable kind of momentum shift that I think is what carried into the rest of that weekend too.
Yeah.
And I would also say that
we felt none of that last night in the crowd.
No. Yeah.
The crowd was low
barely in the dugout. The dugout
did
have a little bit for a minute, but not much.
It says something and I think it's just the general buzz of the program and how it's been building since, I would say, 2018. It's the crowds have gotten better and better and better. And there's something to be said when you have, all right, let's say, in 2018, we might have had 2,000 people at a game like that. Well, now you've got 4, and just the general atmosphere, the vibe, it feeds I'm feeding us as fans sitting behind home plate. We're feeding off of that. Imagine how much the players are actually feeding off of that.
There's people around us. You're not about 50 seats around us.
It's not just us anymore.
It's good. That's good and bad at times.
That's right. Depending on who they are.
Like when Caitlin Collins stands in front of you and you have to tell her to get out of the way.
Did you have to tell Caitlin Collins to get out of the way?
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah, on Saturday.
She and I think it was her brother, which I didn't know.
It was her brother. She had it, because she came and had a drink with me at session after.
I saw it. But so it's like the 6th or 7th inning, these people wander out. They stop and decide to look for their seat, standing directly in front of me where I can't see the plate.
I love this because like this is like Roger like kind of wanting to shrink the game a little bit. Like, are we gotten too big? We want to shrink it and get it back to how it used to be.
So it's like, okay, you decide what you want to do, but you're just gonna have to do it away from where you are.
Yeah, this sort of shit didn't happen when we were 7-23 in the conference.
No,
It sure as hell didn't happen the second game of the Auburn series in 2018.
Yeah, no, in the middle of the night we're getting beat 20-2 or whatever.
Yeah,
when I was drunker than a basketball bat.
Yeah, I think was it Meghan? Did you tell me it was Caitlin Collins or somebody? Somebody said
I said it, but it was someone. Maybe it was one of like Evan's uncle. Maybe someone behind me.
They saw her.
Yeah. Oh, that's who that is.
Someone noticed the lib. Roger, I know only watches Newsmax, so he wouldn't know who that is.
I don't even know what Newsmax is, but no, but yeah. And then I looked. I mean, all I saw was about a well-dressed woman with long hair back from the back.
Who was in the way?
Made for TV.
Yep. And as Meghan said, it had no baseball savvy or
No.
The only person, right, Griff, I'll get you a second. The only person Roger lets like walk in front of him is Evelyn. She's the
Evelyn.
He helps her guys her down.
TBE is special. She
go ahead, Griff.
Anytime.
I was gonna just say, compared to my senior season, I'll give shout out to Jacob Pickle and folks at Crimson Chaos. They've gotten so many people out to right field, and I know the players are playing along with them on everything. They post online saying you guys are carrying us, and we're feeding off your energy, and between y'all being in home plate and just the crowd in general, I mean it absolutely helps every little bit. So
Evan's been a great right fielder for them too. Many times how
very much embraced it.
He loves it too. I mean,
very much embraced it. Yep. All right, so turning to A&M, we got flush. We're rid of UAB. We got to quit talking about Arkansas now. The 24-hour rule is up, I guess. A&M's coming to town, number 1 in the country now. They're 11-4 in the conference. They're 33-4 overall. They're 35 in strength of schedule. So and now the only hole I see in their record, they're 5-3 on the road. So they dropped some road games. But here's what they've done so far. They went to Florida, lost 2 out of 3 to start the season. They had State and Auburn at home on back-to-back weekends, 2 or 3 from State, and then swept the barn. We
appreciate them for doing that.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Very well appreciated. Battle of the two Colts. At South Carolina, they took 2 out of 3 there, and then this past weekend, Vandy comes to town. A&M. They just beat the living hell out of them. Beat them like a bunch of nerds. Swept them. Combined score 36-6. So again, we're catching them in a really good time. They won a 15-0 game. They won a 9-0 game.
Yeah. Didn't Vandy go to? Didn't South Carolina sweep Vandy? Who was it that swept? Somebody else swept Vandy.
Yeah.
Florida.
South Carolina saw Vandy the last week of March.
Yeah. So Vandy's, Vandy, it's not the best Vandy team.
Vandy's not great this year.
I would have traded Kentucky for them.
Nothing to whistle at for Vandy.
Yeah. A&M is apparently a bunch of poors. I could not locate conference splits on their stats.
Yeah,
but they're hitting 311 overall. Opponents are hitting 219. Team ERA is 3.21. So again, it's fairly rare to see that team hitting 300 and with a 3-ish ERA. You kind of got one or the other usually, right? They're good at both. 77 homers, so they're up there. Tennessee and Georgia, I think, are up in the 90s now. But they're slugging 577. You really don't have to look further than 1, 2, 3 in their order for where a lot of their offense is generated. You got I can't read my damn writing. Grahovel, is that how you say his name? Grahovel, who's their
the freshman.
Yeah, the freshman, third baseman.
Yeah.
325, hit 13 homers. Jace Lavalette, who if not for Charlie Condon and
and Cagliari.
Yeah,
Yeah.
would probably be everybody be talking about him as the best player in the conference. He plays center field for him. He's at 319 with 18 homers, and then Braden Montgomery, who right fielder, 379 and 20 homers. So I mean, there you go. 1, 2, 3, pick your poison. What you do, just walk all those guys and take your chances with their cleanup guy, maybe. Pretty good fielding team. They're fielding 980. What to expect from starters? I haven't seen them tweet out their starting rotation, but here's what they usually do. On Friday, they're typically going to go with Ryan Prager, who's a lefty. He's 7-0, got a 198 ERA, 75 strikeouts. He's walked a grand total of 5 guys. So again, you might be kind of looking at on their Friday night at another Hagen Smith type situation. I mean, we'll see him. We'll see Luke Coleman. I mean, those will be the 2 best arms we're going to see the rest of the year, I think. You can just scanning the calendar, and then Tanner
real
Jones.
Quick, Paul.
Yeah,
Paul,
go ahead.
They're going. They did tweet out their. They're going
Yeah.
Prager Thursday, Jones Friday, Lampkin Saturday.
Lampkin Saturday. Okay.
Who's
Which
on
is
Saturday?
Prager,
Saturday,
Jones, Lampkin.
Yeah, Tanner Jones is their. They're okay. So here's an interesting. Tanner Jones I mentioned is a transfer from Jack State. So think of you. What did you say? Jack State was 180 something, 170 something.
179. Yeah.
What if they had Tennessee's Friday starter and A&M Saturday starter in their rotation? It'd be probably a little different story. So that's when you start talking about group of 5 teams and where their issues in this day of college baseball is. Jones is 3-1, a 386 ERA, 33 Ks, 10 strikeouts. He's actually from Thorsby, Alabama. So down 65. Is that Chilton County, maybe?
Yeah, that's Chilton County.
Chilton County, little small town. And then Lampkin actually got rocked by Vandy on Sunday of the past weekend. He's 2-1 with a 419 ERA. So again, I mean, he's a lefty. So you're gonna see 2 lefties, which with us and all the lefty bats we get, hopefully we get some out of our righties a little bit, or these lefties.
I hope that we don't change up too much with our lineup, due to it.
I mean,
let's get the best bats in there.
Just get them out. Yeah,
I don't care if they're lefty or righty. Get the best bats in.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, at this point, you kind of know your lineup is. I won't say it's set, but you kind of know where your best combinations are, and yeah, you can tweak, move guy here or there to, you can move some things around occasionally, within the order, but I think you kind of know guys' roles, and if a guy really ain't contributing yet, they're probably not. It's probably tough to bring them in a weekend like this and say, here, go, here, throw you in the deep end of the pool without your floaties on. There's some other conference series maybe you could experiment. This is probably not a good one, right? So the good news is, we just won a series against the number 1 team in the country, scoring 3, 4, and 5 runs on consecutive nights. The bad news is you do that this weekend, your ass is swept. All right, because this is a whole different offense. This offense I think is going to be significantly better. I mean, and we knew that with Arkansas coming in, that they were, not going to be a great hitting team. It's just that their arms carry them. It kind of feels like A&M's got good arm, really good arm on Friday or Thursday in this week. Adequate the next couple of nights. But they're, you want to get in a scoring match with these guys, good luck, right?
Yeah.
You think about it, you got a lefty going out there tomorrow night. Then you go Hess on Friday. I kind of like those matchups a little better, honestly. Rather than
I like going lefty, righty, lefty.
Yeah. I like this. I mean, I kind of hope, like you said earlier, I kind of hope we stick with it. Maybe. I know we talked about we want to change a lot, but I mean, I think that's a kind of a subtle change.
Yeah.
That I think at this point maybe gets you off a little better for the weekend on the first night. Just given Ben's propensity to walk guys and run count up, and you might get to go your bullpen a little bit earlier. So we'll see how that shakes out. But that's what's coming to town this weekend. Again, a consensus number one at this point. They are. Yeah.
I got a question for the group.
Okay.
In terms of who do you want to see? Like we talked about, like guys who, like we wanted to see like continue what they're doing. Who do we really want to see step up out of this group? I would say, especially from the pitching staff, because the first guy that comes to my mind is Aiden Moser.
Yeah.
I could see Friday night or tomorrow night being a night. He's fresh.
Yeah.
Could be a night where we really could use Aiden Moser.
Yeah, especially a guy that keeps the ball down. You know, he throws that heavily relying on the slider, and if he could come in and keep it down against this, this batch, much like the Tennessee weekend, or was it Tennessee that he had
to save?
Yeah.
He's given up a lot.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, if you talking about pitching only, Hunter,
it could be hitters too.
Yeah, I think, and I think he's fully capable. Evan Slight to me is one.
TJ and Evan.
Yeah, TJ and Evan. Now and especially now because we've got the order a little balanced where those guys are down the bottom. If they would get going, because Gage is going to be Gage. It feels like Bronny has not. He hadn't really. It's not too big a moment for him to be batting in the third or fourth or fifth spot in the order. I felt like that's helped with that. And so if you could get the bottom of your order going a little bit, maybe set the table on the back end for some of these guys. So I'm going to go with Slight. I think if he can kind of come around to what he was doing a little bit earlier in the conference season, and even in the preseason, I think that'd be huge for us. How about you others?
I'll say as far as arms, I mean, I'd like to see Austin Morris continue to do good work as far as eating up innings, and probably Tyler Fay's been fantastic. The more innings he eats up, the easier it makes it for the rest of the end, depending on if it's a Friday night or Saturday early in this case if he comes in there. But if they eat up innings, I think that could be big. But yeah, I'd like to think that maybe Ian Petrux can continue to just stay hot. I mean, continue to need production from the top of the lineup as well as the bottom. But he's just been, to me, a little hot and cold throughout the season. So
a little bit.
Ian can go a long way.
Right now. Speaking of Gage, I had done a little bit of research on his season, on where it fits into where it could fit into history here. Right now, I mean, if the season ended right now, he'd have the second highest batting average ever for an all-around player. Obviously, Magadan's 525.
525, yeah.
Stoner hit 411. And Mueller and Chris Glass at 405. So at 414, he's second there. Hits-wise, he's a long way off. Magadan had 114. The Mills 10th at 101. He's got Gage has 58, so he'd have to get 43 hits over. Could be 20 games.
20, yeah.
That would take a lot. Couldn't find a lot on his own base percentage is 511, which it has to be up. Slugging is 829, which has got 15 home runs, which there are. Let's see. We have 14 guys that have hit 20 or more ever.
Okay. All right.
So
all right. Quick game.
All right.
Let's name all the 14 guys who've hit 20 or more home runs.
Well, Kent Mathis with 28.
Doug Duke, not David. I almost said David Duke. Actually, not David Duke.
Colby Shelton. I mean, he hit what 22
last
year.
All right, that's three.
Yeah.
Okay, you got the three guys. We had GW, Andy, and
we had
Robbie.
Four guys. We had four guys in 2000 or in 1997. It was
GW, Andy, Baz,
Robbie Tucker,
and Robbie Tucker.
Yeah.
And so then and I think Robbie Glenn hit 21 year too.
And then you got Kent Mathis. Mathis
is the leader, and then Duke, and then I can really tell you in just a second. Actually.
Yeah, so Roger's got it right in front of him.
Yes, and you got it like going.
Me and Brett Hudson used to do.
I was gonna say this is Bama
always do trivia, and so I was kind of trying to bring a little bit of that into it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got a lot of them. If you want the actual answer, though.
This is great
anyway,
radio.
Yes, great. Yeah.
He's got 54 runs. The not Bryce Evelyn, but Brett Evelyn had 88 in 1983.
Yeah.
So the 10th place guy is Andy with 71. So he can reach top 10. RBI is
most important stat.
43 for that for the leadoff.
Yep.
Obviously, Meghan with 95, I think, is the leader. And so if he got 29 more, he'd move into the top 10.
Yeah, and the on base, that on base streak is getting up
it's still alive. Yes, he's still a little bit away from Dugas. Total bases, he has 116. Andy had 203. Mathis had 175.
Wow.
So with 59 more, he'd make the top 10.
Yeah,
he's already 7th in hit by pitches. He only needs 6 more to tie the single season record hit by pitch.
So some of these things are reachable in the next 6 weeks if he stays hot. And we need it. So, all right. All right. Games this weekend, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, Friday. I think we're both at 6. We got 2:00 game on Saturday. And TV. Are we network tomorrow night or plus?
Yeah, real TV tomorrow and then app after.
And then plus the next 2 days. So you stream it Friday, Saturday. We're on the network tomorrow night pretty well. Probably the exclusive game on there. So another big weekend coming at the Joe. I hope we'll get this out there and get it tweeted out. Thanks to Christian. Thanks to Crimson Crossover for hosting us. Follow us, by the way. We're on Twitter now. Weekly Joe Pod at Weekly Joe Pod. If you haven't followed yet, follow it there. We'll have links to this there. We'll have clips from it. Christian, I think we rack this on your YouTube page. Is that kind of how the drill here? It'll be there, so we'll get that out there, and we'll plan on seeing you guys at the park this weekend at the Joe tomorrow night, and we will do this again next week. Hopefully, coming off another ass kicking of the #1 team in the country. So thanks a lot.
Guys.
All right, thanks. Enjoyed it.